Wednesday, March 26th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Night Wizard and legendary gambler Tetsuya. Let's do this.
You know, today I thought I'd be nice, and I went and I got a melon pan as part of my lunch, along with a curry pan, and I got an extra melon pan that I was going to bring home.
But you ate it.
No.
You lost it.
No, I was just going to leave it in Emily's apartment and then drive home, and then she would get home and say, "What's this?" "Oh, a melon pan." But she got out of work early. She had an appointment somewhere, and she called me and said, "Hey, I'll say hi before you catch your train." So I go down. And while I had bought her a melon pan, she had independently bought me something to eat. So we traded things to eat and then went along our way.
Alrighty. Okay. Now, speaking of things to eat, though, this morning I bought some high-quality peanut butters at Stu Leonard's over the weekend.
Ah, that you did.
I also ran out of jellies at work, so I put some jellies, 3 jellies, unopened jellies, and the peanut butter in a bag, and I brought it to work.
That bag gone?
I left that bag on the train.
Outstanding.
So I called the train lost and found, and I'm like, yeah, I left this Stu Leonard's bag on the train. Did anyone find it? They're like, if it was food, they threw it out. Even though it wasn't very perishable. It would have lasted a day or two. It's peanut butter and jelly. Jelly wasn't going to go bad at all.
I don't know. I mean, I can see why they would have laws about that, or at least rules.
But at least, for an hour or so. I mean, if someone calls, right back. But I basically got to work, and I was just like, fuck.
I have a feeling what actually happened is the person you called was probably eating a delicious peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Probably, but I get to go now, right? And I had to continue eating my not as good peanut butter until I can get some more.
That's harsh, because you know that you had the potential to have better peanut butter.
I know, right? I only ate it once. And now I got to go buy all new jellies. It's like 3 jellies. It's a lot of money. It's like almost $10.
I spent more than that on lunch today.
Oh yeah, I went out for like sushi lunch today, but I got a Don.
I also went out and got sushi lunch, and I got sushi and a melon pan and a curry pan.
It was a weird Don because this place I got it at, right? They put a lot more stuff in there, right? So it was kind of more interesting than the Dons I'm used to. But they also put some stuff in there that was sort of tasting like, that sort of fishy, not the best sushi place in the world flavor. And it got in my egg, and I was kind of like, eh. Some bites were yummy, and some bites had this flavor.
I actually really prefer the Dons from the Yagura Mart as opposed to the ones from the Cafe Zaya right next door. And they're also cheaper, so it's like, all right, the better one is cheaper.
Yeah.
And there's
my
less
coworkers, though, it's like, they're at the level where they're outrageous enough that they'll get sushi, but they all just get, like, normal rolls. Just, like, the most normal ones they have. They're like, yeah, give me, like, 8 California roll and a Philly roll and spicy tuna.
Man, we go to the Necco, and we're like, that's a new roll. What's in it? Who cares?
Give me the double garlic roll. And
that's like the second best roll ever. It's just whole cloves of fried garlic.
Yeah, I'm like, why don't you guys get, like, beef Don or something? They're like, what's that? I'm like,
well, I remember when I was living.
I started talking about the sushi train. They're like, yeah, he's like, yeah, it's great. You just get all this stuff. You don't even know what it is. You just eat it. And I'm like, you don't know what it is by looking at it? I'm like, I know what it is.
Well, I remember when
show me a sushi. I'll tell you what it is.
Out this way, and I had a landlady and her boyfriend, and they wanted to go to the grocery store, so I went with them, and we went uptown, and we passed by the Osho Japanese Steakhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, Japanese place. I like Japanese food. And he was like, what, like sushi? And I was like, no, pretty much all of it. And he was like, well, what else is there? And I was like, and I start naming things. He's like, He knew, apparently, as far as he knew, Japanese food consisted of steak or sushi.
Really?
When I explained the concept of sashimi.
I guess in Italy, all they eat is pizza, meatballs, and spaghetti.
But that's absolutely true.
Shut up.
So, are we going to talk about the really big anime news, or you want to go first? I think you can go first.
I had some other opening bits. Like I was thinking, I had 3 opening bits.
I can hold off. There's an elephant in the room.
But I forgot what they were.
How can you forget?
They're gone.
Because the elephant's in the room. His name is Anime Boston, but I kind of want to hold off.
All right, so I got to do a geek bite because there's no news, and I'm going to continue my
There's plenty of news, but go on.
Anyway, so in the sort of comics community, right? The latest hubbub has sort of been about the Green Lantern, and people are like, "Oh man, it's green."
The Green Lantern is probably one of the dumbest ideas for a superhero ever, but
Well,
I digress.
all superhero ideas are dumb.
Not all of them.
Even the Batman idea is dumb.
No, the Batman idea is not that dumb.
Think about it. It's kind of a dumb idea. A guy
Besides-
who's really rich lives in a cave and buys fancy things and has a butler. It's not really. It's a pretty corny
All right, you know what's
idea.
not dumb at all?
Has a sidekick wearing green underwear.
Kick ass.
That's not dumb. No,
That's not dumb.
No.
Well,
But-
it's dumb, but in a different
But
way.
anyway, but the new Green Lantern stuff, apparently, I don't know the deal with it, but people were just raving about it nonstop raving. So I'm like, all right, I stand by. So I stand by my don't knock it till I try it policy. And I say, all right, you bitches, hyping up your Green Lantern that I don't have a lot of confidence in, right? Which Green Lantern should I read?
Ah,
All right,
that's how I read comics. Is I pretty much every time Scott's like, you should read a comic, I'm like, all right, what's the best one I haven't read
Well,
yet?
I said, all right, so this current story that you're raving about, right? Where does it begin? What trade should I buy? Give me the ISBN number. So they gave me the ISBN number, right? And it's Green Lantern Rebirth by Jeff Johns, and the art is by Ethan Van Sciver and someone named Prentice Rollins. I don't know what he does. I didn't.
Nah.
All right, anyway. Oh, wait, here's the credits. Penciler Ethan Van Sciver, inkers, letterer, colorist, whatever. Okay, anyway. So I read the whole thing, even though I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to finish it. This is terrible. Oh, my God.
Well, could you enumerate? I mean, what was bad about it? I mean,
Okay, well, basically, here's the deal, right? At first, I was thinking, my only sort of prejudice against these sort of comics, especially the DC ones, is that they require a lot of prerequisite knowledge to understand. I'm like, because I know nothing about the Green Lantern other than that he has a ring and he doesn't like yellow, that's all I really know, that I'm not going to understand the story. And that actually was not true. You see, because in the front page here, there's a who's who, and it tells me who all 6 Green Lanterns are.
there's 6?
Yes.
I knew there was one, and I think there was one that I knew was different because he was black.
There's one of them is black, yes.
Are they all green? Is there like a red lantern?
Well, the original Green Lantern.
Because if the Green Lantern and the Yellow Lantern teamed up, no one can beat them.
The super original Green Lantern from the ancient olden days, right? He's actually like not the same as the other ones. He's like a sort of magic based. And the other Green Lanterns are sort of space, with the rings and such.
Anyway.
So that actually wasn't a problem. I understood the plot of this comic 100%. There was nothing, so I congratulate them on, having a comic that sort of continues this incredible, ongoing, never-ending story, but someone who doesn't know that story could understand the plot. That was good. The art is also great. I mean, I guess it's not, the art that I'm going to hang on my wall, but for comic book art, it's like, hey, this is pretty good arts here. I could look at this. It's not painful. It's pretty appealing.
Does it have that charm and class that was reminiscent of the days when I liked the X-Men?
A little bit, kind of.
The way the X-Men looked, that was epitomized in the Fox cartoon.
Yeah,
Like that's the only kind of superhero I like, other than, I guess, cool Batman.
I can say that I would happily have Mr. Van Sciver draw some pirates in my sketchbook. He's the high quality, all right? What is wrong with this comic? Well, first of all, while I understood everything that was going on, right, it seemed like when I was reading it that there were lots of references to things. And I sort of got the references. Like, I understood them because I read the little who's who in the front. Like, I understood what they were referencing. But it felt like, it was sort of like there was a pointer, that was supposed to, like, I could tell that, that's supposed to make me go, ooh, like... Sort of like when you watch a remix of or a mashup of things you like, and you go, "Oh man, look at that mashup," and they make a reference to something, that but other people might not know, and you sort of get that feeling, like if someone,
I know.
Like if someone makes like a clever Death Note joke, and it's like,
Pretty much, you know what? Anytime someone ever says the words, "If this is a diplomatic mission, then where is the ambassador?"
Yeah, stuff like that, right? And it seemed like they did that a lot, and not being someone who had a pre-existing emotional attachment to any of these characters or to the story, and just a knowledgeable, I guess knowledgeable is in terms of one page of text, right? It seemed like a lot of the emotions I was supposed to have while reading it, I didn't have. It was sort of like saying, hey, you there, Green Lantern fan who loves Green Lantern, you should feel ooh right now because they're referencing something else. Ooh. And I'm like, no, I'm not feeling that right now. But I can tell you're trying to evoke that emotion in me because you're so obvious.
It's okay when a work does that because there are works that have this extra level. Like, they have stuff there for people who know, but yet you can enjoy it not even knowing any of that. Like watching the V for Vendetta movie. There were a ton of references to the comic, but they didn't in any way get in the way of enjoying the movie. You can enjoy the movie and never even know there was a comic.
See, the thing is that while I was worried that without knowledge I wouldn't understand. But I understood.
Wait a minute.
But there was no enjoyment to be had because all the enjoyment was in the form of references.
So I was going to say that is the problem simply that, you understood it. You understood it all too well.
Now, the other problem I have with this, right, is that much like other DC comics I have read, that instead of just sort of being a really close, personal kind of story about the characters, it ends up being like this cavalcade story where there's just Superman's here, Batman's here, Wonder Woman, Flash, all these people just showing up, Green Arrow.
I think that comes out of the fact that pretty much they know, like...
I mean, you already have like 5 or 6 Green Lanterns to deal with, all right?
Well, here's why I think they do that. All right, so they know, I'm going to make up numbers to make it easy. They know that there's like 8 people who like Superman and 2 people who like the Flash. So if they've got a comic that has Superman in it, they're going to get 8 people to buy it. If they put the Flash in a little bit, then they're going to get 2 more people to buy it. And if they put in the Green Lantern, 1 more dude's going to buy it. And if they put in Wonder Woman, then like 5 other people are going to buy it.
I don't know if that's what they're thinking or not, but it really turns everything, every single story becomes sort of like this giant world-spanning thing with everyone in it. And it's really all about this like unemotional plot where you don't actually have characterization. You sort of have these character templates and the plot just sort of acts on them and the characters don't act. They're not like Burning Wheel characters that, like live and
fight
breathe.
For what you believe.
Yeah. They're just sort of like these...
Instead of fight for what you believe, your instincts are things like, I hit you, you little guy.
They're like, the characters are the costumes, really. They're so two-dimensional, and then this plot just sort of stirs them all up, and then you see what happens. And I don't know why people are going crazy for this. Like, this is like their favorite comic right now, but it is not my favorite comic right now.
I'll read it.
You want to read it?
I'll read it.
All right, you can read it.
I'll read it.
Okay.
I'll give any comic a fair shake. I'll shake it as I'm throwing it. Nah, I'm not going to make a joke like that, but...
Actually, there was one aspect of the plot which I enjoyed. And basically, what the part of the thing... And is that one of the Green Lanterns, right, is basically unafraid. And they keep... the thing is, they're not subtle with it at all. They're like, he's not afraid. And...
that could be done so much better, but anyway.
Well, it's a really good plot mechanism that I liked. But the only thing I didn't like about it is it wasn't subtle, right? And here's the deal, right? So he's not afraid. But Batman is all about, controlling people with fear. So him and Batman don't get along. And it's sort of like,
But the thing is, anyone Batman can't control with fear, he controls with violence.
Right, well, he can't because the dude's like a Green Lantern and Batman is just some guy. And they demonstrate that at one point because he just freaking punches Batman in the face.
But I thought Batman kicked Superman's ass.
This isn't... yeah, that's what people say, but...
Yeah, anyway.
There's a great, whole page where he's just punching Batman right in the face.
What, repeatedly?
No, just once.
How did Batman survive?
Well, because
wait a minute, though. Batman
the Green Lantern doesn't have super strength. He has a super ring, so if he punches you, it's just like a normal punch.
Doesn't Batman have that big, stupid yellow plate with the bat
punched him in
symbol?
the face.
So why didn't Batman just poke him with the yellow thing?
What yellow thing?
I don't know, like the yellow plate with the bat on it. I've seen pictures of Batman with that stupid yellow. Why doesn't he just carry around yellow spray paint whenever that dude's up in his grill?
They talk about, that's part of the stupid plot is like, oh, why yellow this and why it doesn't do anymore and blah, 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 and all that. There's a lot of trying to explain away, things. and they sort of try to incorporate the plot into the explanations
in
of
that
why.
universe, I just make a tank that's painted yellow and made out of kryptonite, and I don't let any radio signals get in, so Batman can't mess with me, and then I rob banks with it.
Yeah, but anyway, it was like that was one aspect of the story that was almost enjoyable, but they were so unsubtle and obvious with it. It's like if you had a great symbolism and sort of message or like a little theme, but then you just came out and just yelled it really loud, like, yeah. So I cannot recommend these Green Lanterns by the Jeff Johns that everyone is touting so much as being fantastic. They are not my tea.
I'll read it. You might get a geek bite of my own about this in the near future.
No, I think I'll just have to hear you going, God, God, God.
It'll keep you up all night.
Plus, if you're gonna read comics, you should read something good and not something bad.
All right, what should I read next? I've already read Watchmen, V for Vendetta, and Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
I'll go get something.
And Bone.
All right. Well, I'll get something.
I'm not going to talk about this in great detail because I kind of want to wait until this happens and keeps happening and how people react to it, and then I'll talk about it, because half of this is it's about time, but the other half is it too late? Gonzo, their new shows are going to be streamed on the internet 0 day simultaneously with English subtitles in Japanese in America and the US. And this is with like Crunchyroll and YouTube and some other thing, and I don't want to go into all the details, but for the love of God, it's about time. I wish Gonzo the best of luck with this, because this is what the anime industry needs. None of this, well, we're afraid of reimportation, so we're going to make the Americans wait a year, and by then everyone's pirated it. And then we're not going to market the show at all, so no one's going to buy it. But yet we made all the DVDs, now we're fucked. And then Rim buys the DVDs for $1 at an anime con 2 years later.
No, you know what's going to happen now is they're going to realize, we're giving it away for free. Look how many people are watching. Wait, now we can actually tell that the show sucks and that show doesn't suck.
Yeah, but think about this. Gonzo could make a good show.
Yeah, they could. They could.
They could.
They could, maybe.
They try.
Plus, giving away for free online. A lot of people watch the early episodes and then they'll never get to the end and be disappointed.
But at the same time, they're free. It looks like they'll have, like, you can pay to get higher quality versions and all sorts of stuff. But this in general is really, really, really good news, and I hope it goes well. But I don't want to talk about that, because I have something much more important to talk about. Something that could have affected us, but I guess luckily, but I say this kind of two-facedly, because at the same time, I've wanted to go to Anime Boston for like the last 6 years.
Well, I didn't really want to go to it, like, oh man, I really want to go to Anime Boston, but it was sort of like, hey, there's an anime convention right there. Why not go?
It's also one of the biggest.
It's like a couple hours away, and it's pretty significantly large. It's like Katsucon sized.
Oh, it's bigger than Katsucon by
Wow,
far.
Really?
They had 15,000 people this year.
How many Katsucon have?
6,000 something, I think.
Oh, really? I always thought Anime Boston and Katsucon were sort of similarly sized, like not as big as Otakon, but way bigger than like Kineticon. But I guess Anime Boston is bigger than I thought.
Well, the thing is, I didn't know a lot about Anime Boston because I
knew it was an anime convention in Boston that was pretty big.
Every year it would come up, and like, we have our con schedule. We go to a lot of cons, and actually, the next con we're going to, we'll talk about this more, but we're going to be pressed at the New York Comic Con. We're not doing any panels, no table, nothing, but if you're going to be there, come say hi to us. We'll figure out a way to find you.
Well, there will be times of meeting up. Probably look at what like comic podcast people are doing and stuff. And also, like, the Ninja Consultants have a table there.
Yeah, so we can go and bother them.
Yeah.
But anyway, so every time I thought, like, I'd be reminded of Anime Boston in this kind of conversation. Hey, Rim, you going to Anime Boston tomorrow? Oh, I guess not.
Yeah.
Oh, it was this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's like I don't track the convention, so I don't know when to reg, and it doesn't happen.
It's not like Otakon where I like have the RSS feed and or like Katsucon where we sit there and read the staff email. By the way, I got to point out again, Katsucon is awesome because we're already planning out the layout for the video game room for next year.
Yeah, that's how it's got to be.
But Anime Boston did not exhibit this level of foresight that Katsucon is so wonderfully brought to us.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if their video game room was good or bad. Or
Anime Boston in general. I don't know how many of you have heard. It was on Anime News Network. We had a couple of friends there. I think Mookie was there. But basically, they fucked up. And Anime Boston 2008 was full of epic lose and fail.
Well,
now,
glad we didn't go then.
The thing is, I kind of wish we had gone because the thing that happened would not have affected us. We would have been inside going, wow, where is everybody? And then we would have walked outside and gone, oh. But basically, they completely booch the registration at Anime Boston this year. People were reporting 9 and 10 plus hour waits for badges.
I mean, Otakon has like more people, yet the reg so fast.
Otakon has the best registration of any convention, professional or otherwise, I've ever been to in my entire life.
Well, no, there is one better registration, and that is where they mail you your non-counterfeitable badge in the mail, and then you just walk in.
Well, all right, but I've never been to a convention that did that.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Of all the things I have gone to, all the professional conferences, all the anime things, all the video game, everything, Otakon's wait is pretty much zero unless you are dumb and choose to wait in line. But we don't have to talk about that. Anyway, the deal here is that Anime Boston, there's a lot of claims as to what happened. They're saying, oh, well, the convention center.
Yeah, everything we're gonna say about Anime Boston. Remember, we weren't there. We didn't talk to anyone directly who was there. We didn't talk to anyone who ran it. We're going completely by text on the internet in forums and websites that are reporting. So that's, it's just so in case we say anything wrong, we're like tertiary sources here, so don't blame us.
So
we're
apparently,
going with what we can do.
There were long waits on Thursday for pre-registration, but apparently very few people use the Thursday compared to other cons. I mean, I guess Otakon's kind of the exception where almost half of Otakon's attendees seem to show up like midday on Thursday and stay until like 5 o'clock on Sunday. But that might just be the way Otakon is. But so Friday, basically the line was just crazy and a lot of people could not get in Friday, period. And Saturday, the lines were still super bad.
How was Anime Boston? Was their red? How much did they grow?
Well, apparently they had about 4,000 more people this year than last year.
That is a pretty significant jump, but their reg wasn't so terrible last year, right? And 4,000 people, while a significant jump.
4,000 people does not a 9-hour line make.
Right. Even if their reg last year was like, a 2-hour wait, right? 4,000 extra people would at most double it to like a 3 or 4 hour wait. And that would be if they really sucked. So even if they didn't modify their registration system at all, they would have been just fine this year. And I guess, well, they wouldn't have been just fine, but they wouldn't have been as this bad. So what did they fuck up?
Well, here is the official statement from Jackie Elionwi Lavachi, Anime Boston 2008 Director of Registration, also the Providence Anime Conference 2008 Registration Manager.
Oh, see.
Now, we have a lot to say about the Providence Anime Conference.
It'll have to wait.
Yeah, we're only going to go if we're pressed. If I have to pay to go, I'm not going to go, especially after this, because I don't trust Jackie Elianwe Lavachi, or Lavach. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know this person. Don't even know what this person looks like. But this is the person.
Could be some hot person.
To whom the buck has been passed. Quote, to address your points. 1, gone are the days that the Reg division is overlooked. I plan to restructure and double the amount of staff we have in the very least. Now, I would like to point out that according to what I heard, even if you quadrupled the number of staff, it would not have helped. You had so few. Anyway, moving on. Point 2. Unfortunately, security suffered a real blow. 30% of their staff did not show up. They hired 60 and only 40 showed up. This forced us to use volunteers for a lot of line wrangling, and unfortunately, people you pull from a crowd are never going to be as good as those hired to do a specific job like securities. Now, if this was all line regulation and security, these people had almost no impact, as far as I could imagine, on how long it took to register people. So that doesn't really have anything to do with this. And 3, unfortunately, no. I'll get to what that's for. We did what we could, but if we offered any type of refund, the con would cease to exist. The majority of the con's bills come after the convention and are paid by the at-con funds. We cannot possibly do this. I hope you understand and wish for Anime Boston to fix the problems rather than cease to exist. Now, I don't want to sound like a jerk here, but if I showed up to any convention that I had paid to attend, and I show up on the first day of the convention and discover that 9 hours later will be the earliest I could have my badge, I'm going home and I'm demanding a refund. and I probably paid with a credit card, so in the very least, I'm charging back.
Yeah, at the very least, charging back. No.
Well, pretty much, I would have charged back.
I mean, there is a case to be made. Like, there is, you're going to have to expect to wait, but then there's a reasonable expectation of waiting. And 9 hours for a con, basically, yes, there are events going all day. No, it is not possible to get your badge until the day for which you have purchased to go to those events is over. That is an unreasonable expectation.
So, yeah. Now, I don't know what's going to come of this.
That's like if I bought baseball tickets and I wasn't going to be able to get to my seat until the 9th inning. Unreasonable.
Yep. Now, especially, with fan conventions, there is a certain extra amount of leeway. I give a convention a lot more leeway than I would give a professional for-profit organization.
Like if you show up at Otakon on Friday and you pre-regged and you get in by like 1, that's okay. That's fine. That's expected.
But seriously, 9 hours or more.
More than my entire working day. As in, if you had to stay in line so long, all right, that if you unreasonable. You know what? I just came up with Scott's rules for a reasonable line wait. A reasonable line wait is a wait in line in which you will never have to take a break for peeing or food. If you have to wait in line so long that you need to leave the line to pee or poop or leave the line to eat a meal and come back to the line, that's an unreasonable line.
But it gets better. You want to know what caused this line? This is my putting together.
Did all the computers that the Reg people were using crash? They didn't have some sort of a backup system?
So apparently this year they decided to go with a self-service registration system.
Oh, God.
Now,
I've
read claims that the delays were due to the fact that people took longer to use this system than was expected.
Well.
Now,
from being someone who rides many trains,
that's a possibility.
And the tickets for said trains are sold by automatic machines, and the level of incompetence I see people who are not used to those machines using them. Like if someone knows how to use a MetroCard machine, they're like doot 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 doot, and in like 15 to 30 seconds they've done their business. Someone who doesn't know how to use one could be standing there for up to a minute or more, not knowing what to do. Or going very slowly and reading everything very carefully. So for an automatic system at a convention registration where there's going to be a line, each and every person comes up, learns it, does it. That's going to take forever.
Now, there are ways to mitigate that, and I could understand if they'd been a little bit off into how long it would take for people to do it. But how many of these do you think they had? How many of these kiosks?
How many people were waiting in line on one day?
Quote, estimates run as high as 15,000 paid attendees.
Okay, so 15,000 paid attendees, but they all didn't show up Friday, so let's give them some slack. Let's say like 10,000.
All right.
So 10,000 people. We're going to say if it takes 1 minute to do the machine, right?
So it takes 10,000 machine minutes.
10,000 machine minutes. So if you had one machine, it would take 166 hours with 10,000 people to do the whole thing, right? Is that right?
I'm not going to do the math.
I think that's about right.
The thing is, someone else did the math in a forum. I don't even have it open
anymore. So to bring
it
down to a reasonable 2 or 3 hours, you would need like more than 50 machines.
Now, how many machines, Scott, do you think they had?
Well, judging by
because reports differ.
Judging by the resources of a fan-run anime convention, and because I already know that there were severe 9-hour waits, a 9-hour wait, I would peg it around 15-something machines.
4
machines.
Possibly 5. I have heard both of those two numbers. Now,
did they even take into account like machine breakdown? Because
I have no idea. But I could not. If it is true that they only had 5 machines, even if they only had 10 machines, double the numbers that I've seen reported, like, there's no way anyone could have thought that would have been adequate. There is no possible way.
Now, it could have been a situation in which, they contracted out the machines to some company and the company showed up with like 4 machines when they ordered like a whole bunch. We don't know. But even if that's the case, you basically, when you run a convention, you need to, have a plan for what if everyone we're paying to do stuff just doesn't show up? And they did not have such a plan.
Yep. I mean, God, the contingency plans we had at like Katsucon for if things went bad or if any trouble happened, and the contingency plans that I am sure Otakon has and that sort of thing. It was, I have so much to say, but here's what I would have done. Now, again, I don't know the full situation, but if it was true that there is a very, very long 9+ hour line and registration is a problem, I would have gotten staffers together, even had whoever I needed. I would have gotten some people. I would have gone to the line, and I would have designated groups of people by color or something. And I would have had a badge amnesty on Friday. Anyone can come in, and I just have people at the doors making sure we don't violate the fire code.
Yep.
Now, again, this sort of thing might have been not possible due to the contract they signed, but it sounds like they had a lot of problems with the contract they signed anyway in terms of using space in the convention center, which seems to be a common problem. I think Kineticon had a problem with their contract a few years ago.
A lot of the fan-run conventions have a problem, and they don't fully read the convention center contract, or they don't get a lawyer to look at it, and they end up breaking some of the rules or violating something somewhere that they didn't realize.
Now, I really don't want to
This is why hotel cons are much easier, because you don't have as much you have bullshit, but hotels are a little more lax than the convention centers.
Now, this is tricky for me, because on one hand, I don't want to be super down on Anime Boston. I mean, aside from not being there, it is a fan-run conventions get a lot of slack. But at the same time, I have to look at this from the perspective of an anime fan. And had I gone and not been press or staff or anything, I would have basically gone to the front of the line after I discovered that there was basically no way I was going to get in a reasonable amount of time. I would have demanded a refund for Friday, and had they said no, I would have charged back my credit card and gone home.
Yep.
Or in the very least, just not gone to the convention.
Yep.
Or I might have even gone to the convention and charged back my credit card anyway. There's a lot of things I would have done. I don't know how many people out there know that you can charge back on a credit card.
Yeah, you can also do stop payment on a check you write. Of course, that costs money, though.
Yeah, it does, which that's probably good.
But
in the long run.
Stop payment and charging back your credit card are very effective methods for when you are dissatisfied with service, usually expensive service. For example, if you hire like a DJ or something, and then for a party, and then they suck, you should charge them back, and then they'll be like, "What the fuck?" And then you can be like, you really sucked. We're gonna negotiate a lower price because you sucked. And then you can really, push people around. It's a good idea sometimes.
Yeah.
Just don't get in trouble for stealing, because that can happen too. Like, you buy a HD TV and then charge it back and keep the TV. Yeah, not going to fly.
Now, the fact that Anime Boston is unable or unwilling to give refunds means one of two things. Either they're just unwilling to, because it would be a substantial burden. But the thing is, because they say that it would basically prevent Anime Boston from continuing, either they're lying, which I doubt, or they do not have enough operating capital or contingency budget or even credit to deal with that situation. And that also, more importantly, that means that regardless of how many people are reported to have been caught up in this mess, if the number of people caught up in this mess to the point that all of them demanding refunds would bankrupt Anime Boston, that means a lot of people were caught up in this mess, and that is inexcusable.
Yeah, I mean, think about this, right? A lot of fan-run conventions, if you don't have just a pile of money, like, enough to run the convention already, then you're basically taking all the reg money, then using all the reg money to pay for the con, and you're breaking, you're sort of breaking even, and you always have an empty bank.
What you've got to do in that case is have some sort of insurance policy, be it a negotiated insurance policy that'll cover a contingency like that, or like guaranteed credit based on future revenues, some sort of backup plan.
Yeah, but if you're just doing it that way and refunds will kill the con, well, I mean, think about this, right? You can either give refunds and kill the con, or there'll be some sort of class action lawsuit and kill the con. It's basically they killed their own con. And the thing that's sad about it, right, is the part that makes me, because on the one hand, it's like, fuck Anime Boston, they suck. But on the other hand, think about this, right? The reg people are really the ones who suck. And of course, I guess the responsibility for that goes all the way to the con chair. But think about, say, the person running panels in Anime Boston. They might have been running the best damn panels. You have no idea. But now their con's going to die because someone else, something they're not responsible for was the suck. And that's, what if the video rooms are great and such? It's like, Oh, you gotta, that part is kind of sad.
Yeah, but I still, and I think you would do the same thing. And if I were in this situation, chargebacks are coming.
Yeah, definitely.
Good God. But I got to address something too, because while a lot of people are complaining about this legitimately, some people, these people. I saw one woman complaining that her son had an asthma attack in line, and
that's not the con. You can't blame the con for that.
And more importantly, I'm going to paraphrase here, but I was looking at the quote a little while ago. What they should have done is kept the Pillows concert secret. People shouldn't have come to this con just to see that stupid rock band. They should have come to the con for the love of anime. Pillows is the reason we had these problems.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Daryl Surratt's friend.
I believe it's Daryl Surratt.
It could be. But yeah, that guy needs to shut up. It's like, yes, there are valid things to complain about. Yes, that doesn't mean that every complaint you have is valid.
In the end, if nothing else, if what I'm looking at now from the Anime News Network is the extent of the formal statement from the con about this, I'm not impressed at all.
Yeah, glad I didn't go to Anime Boston, and
I
don't see myself going to it in the near future.
Definitely not.
Because while it had a Pillows concert, which is something to see, but it doesn't really seem like Anime Boston has something to offer that other cons.
I was going through this quickly. I'm now looking at the full statement, which is actually much longer.
Oh, okay. Do you got any good bits in there?
Let's see. My name is Jacqueline Lavache. I'm the director, blah, blah, blah. I would like to address the issue of registration wait times this year. First and foremost, I sincerely apologize for the 5+ wait times experience.
Yeah, apologies doesn't fill my wallet and give me my 9 hours back.
There are many factors that caused this problem. These included the lack of sufficient staff, which was more than last year, but still not enough. We also wrote an entire new database that was created to make it more functional and user-friendly, allowing people options like changing their badge name and seeing the status of the registration for the convention, yet there's still kinks that worked out. Main issue with the self-service kiosks. After taking feedback from the previous year, we tried a new process of registration that we thought would help speed blah, 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 blah. This was not the case. We became aware of the problem. We immediately began to rearrange the room as best we could to process registrations. With permission of the Hines, we opened the back door, redirected the line, blah, 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 blah. Wasn't enough. We did our best. Didn't work. After we closed, we did an immediate reconfiguration again. It helped, but not enough. I promise you we'll fix it next year, and we learned a lot. I'd like to thank all the staffers who made this possible. I'd also like to thank the convention center for helping us out. Lastly, I'd like to encourage anyone who has feedback to contact me.
Send them links to this episode. People.
Yeah. Also, if anyone was there, I want to hear some first-hand accounts.
I definitely want to hear the first-hand accounts.
I want to hear exactly what went down.
From people who are more reliable than Pillows-hating guy in the forum.
Yes, and also Redmond Scout who are reading the forum where Pillows-hating guy posted.
Yeah. All right, before we do things of the day, I was reminded of one thing I wanted to say.
Ooh.
We've gotten, you might recall we're doing a contest for some books.
Oh, yes, we are.
I forgot to mention last week. And so far, we've gotten 2 entries, one of which was fail, and one of which I have to double check just to make sure it's not fail.
However, even if it fails due to some technicality, it is definitely win in terms of content.
I think it is. So, if you want the entire Guen Saga manga published by Vertical, which I've talked about on the show before, it's a good manga. It's not the greatest manga ever, but it's high quality. It's worth owning. It's a fantasy manga, which is rare to come by. I mean, a good fantasy manga is worth something if you like fantasy, because there's not a lot of them. All you have to do is write an essay about why we should give it to you for free. You need to, be grammatically and spellingly correct. You need to email it to geeknights@frontrecruit.com. Put something in the subject line about the contest, Guen Saga manga. And you need to write at least 5 paragraphs, I think we said.
And it has to be an essay. We want a thesis statement, some sort of conclusion paragraph. Body paragraph number 1. Reason number 1 why you should give it to me. I'm awesome. Body paragraph number 2. Also, I'm awesome.
Number 3, I'm poor. Number 4, I like manga. It's, something like that.
In conclusion, give it to me.
Yes. So if you do this, the odds are that if you follow the rules of the contest and actually succeed in sending us a proper essay in the proper format with proper grammar and spelling and all that, you're probably going to win. It's your free manga in exchange for typing. This is probably, if I don't get any more entries, because so far there've been 2 entries, so I don't get any entries soon, I think by next week I'm just going to mail it out, because, yeah.
Why didn't Anime Boston just go halfway down the line and tell those people to come back later?
Because they're dumb.
Well,
because think about it. If they did that, it would have been like a New York Comic Con situation of, people are standing outside, then someone comes out and says, "Go home, you're not getting in."
Well, you know what else he could have done? Could have gotten a bunch of people and printed out a bunch of numbers and given people numbers and said, "Come back, and then we'll get back in line with these numbers after we sort this business out."
Yeah, could have.
They could have done something.
They didn't, improvise with the wellness.
Yeah. All right, enough ragging on Anime Boston. After 40 minutes of that, it's time for Things of the Day.
Was that really 40 minutes?
Almost.
Okay, Things of the Day real quick.
All right, so what do you got?
So this is a website that's actually been getting pretty popular lately called bitstrips.com. It's a pretty good website. Basically what you do is if you have no artistic skills whatsoever, like me, you make comics, but you don't have to draw. You just have to type and make characters and drag them around. And people are making a lot of funny comics on here, including me. So everyone come and make comics.
We'll make some sort of forum thread dedicated to this.
There is a forum thread dedicated to it.
Well, we'll link to that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm catching up on a lot of anime suddenly on the train, and right now I'm watching Bokurano, which is fantastic. We reviewed it briefly a while ago. Once I finish it, I'm going to give it to Scott. He's going to watch it all, and then we're going to do some sort of full-on review. It's a really good show, but my thing of the day is very simple. It's a YouTube video that includes a piano rendition of the opening theme. That's it.
Oh.
The opening theme is a really, really, really good song.
That's that uninstall song?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pretty good song. I like it.
Well, the thing about Bokurano and the reason I picked this thing today is that it seems like you can almost always tell if a show is worth watching by the opener. And
a lot of the times you can, at least for anime.
like there's certain things that are common in openers for good shows.
Well, let's see. Japanese J-rock or J-pop opener. This show cost a lot of money and will probably be very popular.
An opener that was written for the show. This show has the backing of people who care.
Yeah, you can pretty much, opener that has a dance. It's like you can really tell a whole lot about an anime show from the opener once you know anime.
Generic J-rock opener, generic show.
Yep.
But anyway, that's all I got. So, moving on. Tonight, last night we tried to watch Ghetto Senki, but we ran into some trouble and it was late. So instead, we watched some anime.
So instead of the Studio Ghibli, we watched 2 completely random episodes of some animes that were random.
Luckily, we'll probably go short on this because this turned into the "Oh my God" Anime Boston episode.
Yeah, that's fun. So, which one do you want to do first?
I think we should talk about Night Wizard, the animation.
All right, so we watched episode 1 of Night Wizard, the animation. This is actually an episode that we had watched a long time ago, but we rewatched it to sort of refresh the memory as to what was the deal with this show. Basically, it's one of those feel-good, scream and shout anime club shows that's not so great to watch on your own, but with friends, it can be a good old time. But
yes.
It's nothing spectacular.
If you run an anime club, show the first episode of this to your club. Good God. I cannot stress that enough.
But if you're looking for some highbrow kind of, anime for the ages,
you want to wait for the next show we're going to talk about.
This is not your department.
What frightens me is the absolutely high ratings the show has gotten on the Anime News Network.
Really? Oh wow,
Yeah.
those are pretty above average ratings.
Yeah, the thing is, I would actually have rated the show kind of highly because I know it's the kind of thing that Dave Riley hates. It's one of those wacky anime comedies.
I don't know. I'd give this like 7 out of 10. This show.
If it didn't have
maybe 6.5.
It's got this problem where it's one of those zany, crazy, funny because it's just so stupid, but yet well constructed shows. But tacked onto that is an actual takes itself seriously plot that totally just doesn't fit.
Basically, the story is, it seems like there's a normal world and some sort of monster world, right? And they sort of interact, and they don't really tell you much about it, except there are some kids who have to fight the monsters, of course.
And the main character is...
Is he the main character? Because he gets about equal screen time with some other characters.
I think he's the character you're supposed to identify with.
I guess.
But Renji is a kid, and all he wants is to get to goddamn school. But instead, no, this woman comes up and says,
Woman, she's like 12 years old.
fine, but
At least she looks 12 years
she's
old.
a wizard or something. She's
in charge. She's sort of, there's one girl who's in charge of like the good wizard types, and there's another girl who seems to be in charge of the evil.
yeah, something
Basically,
like that.
it seems sort of like a harem show because there's the one guy who wants to get to school, and all the other characters are like the childhood friend who's a girl, the shy new girl who's friends with the childhood friend girl, the quiet girl with the gun who helps fight the monsters, the evil in charge of the monsters girl, and the kind of bitchy, annoying in charge of the good guys girl. So it's a bunch of girls and a guy.
Now, the show has a lot of very kind of cliche, but cliche within the context of the show, like tropes. I mean, there's this, basically the head girl of this night wizards will grab the guy, usually while he's on his way to school, or while he's on his way back from the last mission on trying to get to school again, and say pretty much, all right, I'm going to send you to probably die in this horrible fight. Are you going to respond with okay? Or yes.
Yeah, she's like, I'm offering you this mission. You can please reply with okay or yes.
Now, this is obviously one of those really, really forced jokes, but I found myself cracking up at it the third time. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Maybe it was just late.
I laughed at it the first time because I remembered it, because I remember like, oh yeah, this is the okay or yes show. Ha 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 ha. But then every other time they tell the okay or yes joke, it's like, yeah.
So what are
great.
these missions? This is when it goes from a kid in the modern world walking to school, he's pulled into space onto Mars, and now he's fighting skeletons that are dressed up like clowns with a sword. And this is when we see the absolute best part of this entire series. Not this episode, the whole series.
Even though you've only ever seen the first episode.
He's thrown onto Mars, right? And he lands on top of a bunch of these skeletons. And the one skeleton directly behind the skeleton he fell on does the skeleton equivalent of raising an eyebrow. And that alone what makes this show worth it. That 1 second of screen time is partly because it reminds me of a character Scott played in an old D&D game a long time ago.
See, I thought the best part was the second mission they send him on. He has to fight like these midget gnome monsters.
Oh, and he goes to eat lunch?
Right. So then he finally beats up all the gnome monsters, and there are only like 9 of them. And he sits down, he breaks out this bento, and he's eating it. And he's like, finally, I can't get to school, but I can eat my lunch. And he's sitting on Mars around with all these dead monsters, and he breaks out his lunch. And a monster, sort of gets up and sort of creeps up behind him, and he just sort of back fists it. And he's like, fuck you, I'm eating lunch. God damn it.
I love the back fist. It's so used in anime. I mean, Hokuto no Ken, there's like one back fist per episode.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is about the back fist.
I don't know. There's something about that. Not looking, someone comes up behind you, and you just sort of hit him with the back of your fist right in the face, and they go down. That's so cool.
It feels like it
works every time, even though it's cliche.
You know how I know how that really works, though?
Really?
We learned this in Kung Fu, so this is what you do. If you know in your life that at some point people are going to sneak up on you, what you do is you train the Kung Fu so you can do all those different kinds of punches, especially that back fist punch. And every 5 minutes, you just back fist punch, whether or not there's anything there. And hopefully, whenever someone's sneaking up on you, one day you'll get him.
Really?
No, but that's what I imagine.
Okay.
You might notice that I didn't pay attention a lot.
Yeah, and like
Fu.
if you back fist punch, if no one's there, you just sort of raise your hand and yawn.
Yep, it's like,
and then you break someone's face by accident and you run away.
Actually, I think an honorable mention for good scenes in this episode is when they play the crane game with the kid.
I don't remember that.
They pull him up with that hook from the sky.
Oh, right, yeah.
But then the whole second half of this episode has some sort of serious crap plot about... It's totally the girl's dad in that thing. I don't even want to bother talking about it. The tree comes back.
Yeah, that one of the shy girl discovers that she's like a night wizard too, and they're fighting a tree that has a generic multi-beast in it. And
the multi-beast.
Yeah, we were arguing, like, is it really a chimera? Is it really lion, lizard, and the correct combination?
It's some kind of multi-beast.
Yeah, I was like, it's some generic multi-beast. I really like the word multi-beast. I'm glad I came up with it.
What I really like, though, is that they're like, oh, it's the tree, blah, blah, blah. You should confess your love to the person you like under this tree, and then good things will happen. Like,
And it's like this
marriage.
horrible, ugly tree with nothing growing on it.
That's been, like, gnarled in there for centuries. Like, it looks exactly like the evil tree that tries to eat the kid in Poltergeist.
Yeah, and then suddenly, as they go to the evil world and the multi-beast comes out, suddenly it's a beautiful cherry blossom tree, like the biggest one you've ever seen. It's like, okay, so in the evil world, things are nicer. Okay. And then it kills the multi-beast and the tree gets ugly again. It's like, wait, aren't you supposed to kill the multi-beast and then the tree gets pretty? It's totally backwards. Maybe these are the bad guys.
But just the title, I don't know. Night Wizard does not sound like a good show. If anything, whenever I hear Night Wizard, all I can think is I put on my robe and wizard hat.
Yeah. So if you're looking for 15 minutes of, laughing it up with your friends who are already anime fans and already know anime cliches, or you have an anime club, you can watch this first episode and get some yucks. I would not recommend watching this whole show for as like a serious, yes, it's the best show ever kind of deal, because I think there's going to be some harem elements and some repetitive
the harem
elements
really lean a little bit toward lesbians.
A little bit, yeah. It's hard to tell without more episodes.
It's not nearly as sexually charged as Bokurano, though.
It's only a 13-episode show, apparently, so if you're bored, hey.
You know what, though? If you're that bored, I can name 100 shows you should watch before that.
Yeah. The animation in the show is average.
Yeah, it's that standard, computery, well-done, crisp, modern, blah.
Standard modern anime. Okay,
Yep.
What's the other show we're talking about?
Well, the other show, we debated watching the show almost as long as it took to actually watch the show.
Based on the name alone.
Yes, because we knew this was going to be bad going into it.
It's a show from 2000. Well, Night Wizard is from 2007, the end of last year.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Night Wizard was directed by the eminent Yusuke Yamamoto, who is famous for fuck all. Anyway.
Okay. This show we're about to talk about is from like the end of 2000 and early 2001, and it's a 20-episode show, I guess. I'm not sure. That's what Anime News Network says. And the setting of the show is actually really awesome. It takes place in 1947 Shinjuku, and it's actually pretty cool because, it really takes the historical context into account, and I like that. It's the rest of the show that's the problem.
Well, to be fair, I just got to go back. He did do Welcome to the NHK and Sergeant Frog, but
okay, all right. But anyway, yeah.
That's my thing. I like to say famous for fuck all whenever I don't recognize a director.
All right.
Anyway.
Yes, the show we're about to talk about now is directed by Nobutaka Nishizawa, who I'm pretty sure is not the Nish, because I remember I discussed this with Gerald and people in the know. There's the Nish, who's actually some other Nishizawa, and this Nish is actually a different Nish. And this is not a bad Nish. I mean, Nobutaka Nishizawa was the chief director of the Galaxy Express TV show, was the series director of a Dragon Quest show, did the Pataliro. Remember, that's the last time they came up is when we did the Pataliro.
Oh, yeah, that show.
Yeah, so that's this director that we're talking about here. And the show that we're going to talk about, all right, based on the name alone, it's going to tell you everything you need to know. The name of the show is Legendary Gambler Tetsuya.
Now, you might remember our review of Akagi. I want to point out one thing.
The really bad mahjong show, Akagi?
Now, Akagi is like 8 orders of magnitude worse than the show. The show has a tiny bit of entertainment value. Akagi had one good moment ever, and that moment was very simply, how's he going to do it? How's he going to do it? Oh, my God.
Well, I think Akagi also concentrated mostly on the mahjong, whereas Legendary Gambler Tetsuya, while it does concentrate quite a bit on the mahjong, there is also mostly the gambling and the characters and the setting does take some effect.
But in Akagi, it's like, how's he going to do it? Mahjong's a game of almost complete chance. It's not a test of skill or anything. Oh my God, how are they going to make this dramatic? And then he just fucking cheats.
Yeah, at least that made sense. It's like, well, there's no way to add how's he going to win without cheating.
This show is also about mahjong. And How do you think they handle the tense situation? How do you think they do it in this
Well,
show?
they pretty much use all of these cinematic and animation techniques that were perfected in Initial D, and they multiply them by 1,000.
The music starts playing. The guy across the table has the aura. Someone throws down the piece like, for bam, ladies.
yeah. I don't know what else. I don't know what else you can really say about the show other than it's.
I got crack 5.
5 crack.
5 crack? I don't know. I'm not an old Jewish lady.
No. Yeah. For people who don't know, Mahjong is an ancient Chinese tile game that's very similar to Gin Rummy in the way it is played.
It's played by 3 groups of people.
But it's also played by old Jewish ladies in the United States, and they sort of play a different version of the game in a way. And it's played with the same set of tiles, but it's a very different game. But it's a somewhat different game. Just to give you some, knowledge background here.
So what happens in this show? Someone cheats. Oh, okay.
Well, I think it was just really expert sleight of hand.
That's still cheating.
The other thing is that in Akagi, they were showing you the cheating technique, and this one is like, no way, that tile was like under the table. How the hell that happened?
But there was one really good scene, and the show does remind me a lot of Initial D. Like there's a character who's kind of like Bunta, and there's a character who's kind of like they set up the same thing. And there's the old
The difference
master,
is that the main character loses right away.
But the old master, this is set, by the way, at the end of World War II.
I told him that already.
Yes. So, this is important because there's a scene where they're all playing their illegal mahjong, and then...
Oh, that was the good scene, you're right.
And then American bombers come. So everyone's running away.
Now, this is a flashback to when the main character is, learning mahjong from the master back in the day.
And the master is like... I know what I must do. Luck, 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 blah, blah, blah. And he walks back.
Well, at least they got it right. Mahjong is all about luck and nothing else.
And he walks back into the building instead of evacuating, like, I'm just going to die today.
And he goes, up on the roof of the building. And his students are like, no, what are you going on the roof of the building? You're going to die. Oh, my God.
And it's set up like one of those, all right, this is how the, mentor of the main character died. And then we're going to have flashbacks to this all the time and, all that business. Not quite to the Gundam Seed level of yelling out the people's names, but I expected that.
Yep.
And then, this is really a spoiler, because you're probably not going to watch this show. And even if you do, whatever. So, they come back out, and he goes to, see if he's okay. And the guy's just taking a nap on the roof, didn't care at all.
He's like, hey, luck, right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. They totally took the whole flashback to, my mentor bit and turned it on its head.
And, what we thought was a 50 yen coin, Emily informed us that was actually a 50 zenny coin. And a zenny is...
worth nothing.
Nothing. It's like, what, 100th of a yen?
Yeah, that's where Zenigata gets his name from, the zenny, which is like a worthless coin.
Yeah, we knew that, but we didn't know that was zenny. And we're like, 50 yen's a lot back then, because they're talking about 500 yen like it's this crazy amount of money, and then...
I'm like, but wait, that coin he just had said 50 on it. Why?
Yeah, 50 nothing.
And he just let it sit on the floor? Yeah, no, they were 50 nothing.
Oh, the other thing is that the awesome Bunta-like guy is Peter Lorre.
Yeah, he kind of is.
Yes. You might not recognize that name, but you recognize that guy.
Yeah.
He's that guy from all those old mafia movies.
Yep. And a lot of... He was in M, and he was in...
You'll know the guy when you see him. Maybe I'll link to a picture of him if I think to.
He's on Wikipedia.
But anyway... That's pretty much all this show's got. There's not much to it. It's better than Akagi. If you really are into Initial D kind of shows and you know about Mahjong, but you gotta know about Mahjong, and you gotta know about it from a Japanese perspective.
Yeah, that's one thing that really got me is I know how to play Mahjong the Chinese way, and I know how to play it the old Jewish lady way, right? And I know the old Jewish lady terminology, and I know the Chinese terminology. They're playing Mahjong, as far as I can tell, the Chinese way, right? But they're using Japanese terminology, so I can't understand what's going on.
Oh, also, this show exhibits a frightening misunderstanding of the applications of statistics.
Oh, it's quite frightening.
Good
At least
God.
Akagi didn't do that.
Yes, Akagi was like, oh, he just cheated. Oh my God, okay. But this show is like, you changed the order of the draw. Now the game's different. Oh my God.
It's also like the guy's on a roll. He won the last game. He's on a streak. I got to break his streak. He's
got momentum in this completely separate game.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, he rolled a 6. Oh my God, he rolled another 6. He's going to roll a 6 again. No, it's a 1 out of 6 chance if I'm rolling a 6. It's not changing.
All right, I think that's all we got. This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.